Hello everyone, welcome back to another round of Tuesday Night Legacy. Tonight we have Naya Saga Maverick versus Yorion D&T. So we got Ben on the left here playing that Naya Saga Maverick deck. Easy to say. This is a deck that has been in the format for a very long time, changing colors, but primarily always has at least green and at least white in it, using the Green Sun Zenith as a toolbox to grab any number of creatures that can be particularly useful in different situations. But it almost always has the Knight of the Reliquary, which is going to grow for each land in the graveyard, going off of all of these fetch lands and wastelands, being able to turn your plains or forests into utility lands. So it's not only a utility creature deck, it's also a utility land deck. And this one in particular uses Urza Saga to also grab even more utility artifacts like Soul Guide Lantern, Shadow Spear, or Pyrite Spellbomb. This particular list this week runs Imara, Soul of the Accordant, because it is supposed to be crewing something, but I don't see that thing here. Basically, you can tap this to get 1/1 soldiers with lifelink, and I think you can load them up on something, or something grows because you have more creatures. I'm not entirely certain what it was, but this was supposed to be the hot new tech. The even hotter tech, which has proven itself, is Minsk and Boo, which can create this 1/1, put a bunch of counters on that creature, and then throw it at an opponent and draw a bunch of cards. Very, very good. Underestimated when it was printed, but is an extremely good green-red Planeswalker. On the right, we have John playing the Yorion D&T list. We had him on camera a couple videos ago. This uses Yorion Sky Nomad as its companion to add an additional 20 cards to the deck, and with more cards it means more consistency because you just have more play sets. So you get to have more of the things that you want in the first place. So, of course, D&T using Thalia, Guardian of Thraben to make everything more difficult for the decks casting non-creature spells in Legacy. Stoneforge Mystic is going to be able to get you a bunch of different type of the equipments. It gets space for the GT, the Cauldron Complete, the Batter Skull, and the Lion Sash. And then, of course, there's a ton of cards in D&T that have all cemented them in place of being useful, disruptive creatures. But the last one that I think I want to highlight is the Flicker Wisp. This one being able to flicker things out of the game, being able to reset your Cauldron Complete. It can basically do anything at any given time, and there is no end to the utility of this card. So this is going to be a mid-range grind fest here. Let's see who will be able to stick it. We have John starting with a Mother of Runes. Ben, seeing the threat of a turn 1 Mother of Runes, spends a Prismatic Ending to get it out of here. Because the Converge, it's a CMC1 spell, it is exiled. We have a Birds of Paradise and a Stoneforge Mystic getting Cauldron Complete. Cauldron entering the battlefield. But the Swords to Plowshares will remove that Germ token. Pretty much one of the only ways to deal with this card. The Germ is indestructible, but it is not hexproof. So you can either bounce the Germ or you can exile the Germ. We see a Charming Prince. Charming Prince, of course, coming in, being able to exile on the target creature. We see a Solitude being spent to exile a Knight of the Reliquary that was cast on Ben's last turn. The Charming Prince flickering the Stoneforge Mystic, going to go and get another equipment. Giant deck, have to fan through a lot of cards. Ben basically taking his turn during this time, gets to put a Sylvan Library into play, which is going to grant him quite a bit of initial card draw and card advantage, being able to know the cards that are going to be drawn. You can draw up to 3 cards for your turn, but you take 4 damage for each additional card. So if you draw all 3, then you take 8 damage, which is quite a bit. But you can put cards to the bottom, draw the 3rd card. It's very useful. We see the Urza Saga creating the Construct token. Mother of Runes coming down on John's side. So this Construct is just a 1/1 because it did get wastelanded. Ben does have a couple artifacts in his deck. We see another Urza Saga coming down here. So 4 mana is going to get us a Questing Beast. Questing Beast, a powerhouse of a creature. Just has all the relevant text. 4/4 Vigilance, Death Touch, Haste. Can't be blocked by Death and Taxes. Combat damage can't be prevented. So I think that does get around Mother of Runes. It gives protection, prevents the damage. So I am not 100% certain on that. I'm not a judge, but I think Questing Beast can kill creatures with protection. Maybe. Unless they can't assign the damage, but I'm not sure. We see the Questing Beast crashing in there. An Aether Vial coming down on John's side. We see Mara coming into play. Mara just being a 2/2. Whenever it taps, make that soldier. There we go. The Questing Beast being killed by the Batterskull token. Gaining that life, but getting rid of that germ. We see the Yorion going to hand, the companion mechanic. To make it less broken, you pay 3 mana to put it into your hand instead of just getting an 8th card in your starting opener hand. You can only do it during your turn. We see another token coming into play here. And Urza Saga actually getting to go and get its 0 or 1 drop, choosing the Shadow Spear this time. Shadow Spear, of course, giving trample and lifelink. Things can lose indestructible, so this is a way to deal with Kaldra if you have a destroy target artifact effect. We see Mara attacking here, creating the 1/1 soldier, bouncing it back to hand with the Karakas. That's cute. Saving it there, getting a Knight of the Reliquary deployed. Probably getting at least 1, 2, 3, +3/+3, so I think it's a 5/5 in play right now. Untapping these big boy constructs. These are 4/4s here. Choosing the second card with the Sylvan Library. Loading up the Shadow Spear onto the Knight of the Reliquary. Getting a quick block there. A Solitude is attempting to deal with the Knight of the Reliquary. We're going to pop the Horizon Canopy, try and draw an extra card here. See if we can save it, but we cannot. So Solitude takes care of Knight drawing or gaining a bunch of life here. That Soldier with lifelink is gone. Traded 1/1 for 2/2. But does get to gain life. Bounces the Batterskull back to hand for the 3 mana. Because that's what Batterskull does. And we see a bunch of damage come through on these unblocked 4/4 tokens. So John didn't have anything to do that last turn, passes it back. We see an attack coming in. Swords to Plowshares is going to take care of the Batterskull that was redeployed with the Stoneforge Mystic. This 5/5 is going to get yet another Solitude, gaining another 5 life, but dropping these constructs down to 3/3s. It is going to finally kill that Charming Prince, and we're going to see another Knight of the Reliquary deployed. Knight of the Reliquary. Ooh, that's a pretty good card. We're seeing the Recruiter of the Guard coming down. Going to be able to grab any creature with power 2 or toughness 2 or less. I keep doing that. See the Aether Vial all the way up to 4, grabbing the Palace Jailer. Palace Jailer, yet another card, a one of in the Yorion D&T list sometimes, that can come in and basically O-ring a creature and also makes you the Monarch. The creature will come back once you lose the Monarch, but if the Palace Jailer dies, it does not matter. The creature is still gone until the Monarch is taken from you. So the Monarch taking the Knight of the Reliquary. There are 3 blockers on the field on John's side, the Stoneforge, the Jailer, and the Recruiter. Enough to deal with all these creatures, although Ben still does have that Shadow Spear in play. We're seeing a Green Sun Zenith for 3. Paying 3 into the Zenith gets a CMC 2, which is going to go and get the Collector Oof. This is going to shut down all artifacts, which maybe he should have equipped one of his creatures with the Shadow Spear before grabbing the Collector Oof. We're seeing a lot of blocks here. A double block on one of the 3/3s, killing the Palace Jailer, and a block of the other 3/3. And then the 1/1 does get through, so Monarch is exchanged, and the Knight of the Reliquary does come back. But for 5 mana, we see Yorion finally enter the battlefield. John was stuck on 4 for the longest time, ticking up that Aether Vial, hoping to get there. So Yorion is going to flicker both the Batterskull and the Cauldron Complete. They're going to come back at end of turn, so Cauldron cannot attack this turn, but this has swung the game dramatically in John's favor, unless Ben can Alpha Strike in here. He's going to start to lose control of the game really quick. Looking at his creatures here, 2 mana is going to get him... Oh, that might do it. Going to get him not the Ramonok, the Outland Liberator, which is going to be able to destroy the Batterskull. And without that lifelink, the Swords to Plowshares is going to take care of that Germ, once again going up to 8, but enough damage to come through with all of those creatures in play. Ben's going to take game 1. On to game 2 here. 2 mana is going to get a Stoneforge Mystic, which is of course going to go straight and get the Cauldron Complete. We see a Prismatic Ending, exiling the Stoneforge Mystic for 2 mana. A Wasteland is wastelanding John's Wasteland. We're going to see a Phyrexian Revoker come down on John's side. Now, this can shut down mana sources. It has to name a non-land card, but this Birds of Paradise, even though it is a mana source, Pithing Needle wouldn't stop a mana source, but Phyrexian Revoker, the way that it's worded, does stop mana sources, so birds can no longer tap for mana. See a Noble Hierarch come down on Ben's side, giving that Exalted trigger to the Birds of Paradise, and we see a Spirit of the Labyrinth for John, reducing the amount of card draw for either player to 1 card per turn. Now this isn't a blue, neither of these are blue decks, so the draw isn't happening as much, but this does shut down something like Minsk and Boo. Ooh, seeing that Jite on the Spirit of the Labyrinth. Thankfully, Ben had the Swords to Plowshares ready to take it out. So he's got 1 more turn to figure this out, basically, before the Phyrexian Revoker gets loaded up with that Jite. If he had a Green Sun Zenith, would have been able to Zenith for 2, grabbing the Collector Oof, but that wasn't the play here. Instead, we have an Endurance getting flashed in and trading with the Phyrexian Revoker. The full might of Jite coming to bear, giving -1/-1 to both of those mana boys. And that was a Seed of Iganjo, I believe. Seed of the Empire, dealing 4 damage to the Endurance, finishing it off from what the Phyrexian Revoker could not finish. Ben naturally draws the Collector Oof here, shutting down the Jite for now. And we see John on the Rishadan Port plan, tapping down lands during upkeep to prevent mana sources from... Basically, you're denying a single land per turn. Since you can't use it during your main phase, the mana source would drain, going from upkeep to draw. You see not the Spirit of the Labyrinth, but the Skyclave Apparition, exiling the Collector Oof. Jite is back online, can be equipped again. And we see the Apparition coming in, dealing 2 damage. And also getting 2 counters on that Jite. Now that Wasteland was fired off, destroying that Taiga a couple turns ago here. John just denying more mana, trying to make sure that Ben can't really do anything with his resources here. And he's about to lose his Saga during draw step. We see the Saga go away, no way to make the Construct, and have the 2 mana. And the Batterskull is getting pulled up by that by that Stoneforge Mystic. We know Kaldra is still stranded in hand. So John definitely in a good position here. Put Kaldra into play, maybe play Batterskull if he still hasn't won. Pyrite Spellbomb coming up for Ben. Maybe going to be able to kill the Skyclave Apparition, but not really, because you can pop Jite and give +2/+2 to your creature at any time. So that was a pretty aggressive close for John. And we are 1-1 going into Game 3 here. Ben playing Forest and Saga. Passes. Obviously, those are 2 separate turns. John, 2 planes and a Phyrexian Revoker without sound. Not entirely certain what John is naming here. Maybe he's just naming Birds of Paradise again. Can't name a land, so could not name the Windswept Heath. We see basics coming into play here. Ben respecting the Wasteland a little bit more this game. Construct being created and trading with the Phyrexian Revoker. A 1/1 killing the 2/1. We see another construct being created here. Phyrexian Revoker. Actually, if we want to read the Urza Saga. So this construct is now a 2/2 Pyrite Spellbomb, being the 1 cast that Ben went and got. Skyclave Apparition targeting the Pyrite Spellbomb. In response, just killing the Skyclave Apparition, since Apparition could not target the construct as it is a token. We're seeing the Green Sun Zenith for 3, 2, for 2. Green Sun Zenith, right here. Gonna go and get Imara, Soul of the Accord. So every time this thing taps, get a 1/1 white soldier creature token with lifelink. So if Ben can attack unmolested here, then he can keep it alive. Ooh, that helps. Oh, but John does have Karakas, which is going to bounce a legendary creature back to hand. An unfortunate draw for Ben, as John can do this basically at any time, just keeping it up. We see the Recruiter of the Guard trying to get bounced by that Flicker Wisp. Ben doesn't want any of that, so Swords to Plowshares is going to take care of that, making sure that he doesn't get that double advantage. See the Aether Vial coming down for John. This is going to give incremental advantage over time. Aether Vial. Getting counters on this artifact, being able to cheat things into play at instant speed. Knight of the Reliquary coming down, and immediately 5 mana is going to get rid of that Knight with a hard cast Solitude. Gaining some life, but losing his best creature. See this 2/2 swinging in, getting that that Exalted trigger there. Still just a 1/1 since he only controls 1 artifact itself. Imara coming back into play in a Collector Oof to shut down Aether Vial for now. The Mother of Runes with the crazy art coming into play here. Ben needs to answer this Mother of Runes right now, or this is going to get much, much harder for him. Imara going back to hand with Karakas. 3 mana is going to get another Knight of the Reliquary. And it looks like there's going to be a pass there. I believe that's a Swords to Plowshares. I'm not sure what that removal spell is. I've never seen that art before. Maybe it was... No, it wasn't a Solitude. Well, whatever it was, it exiled that that Knight of the Reliquary, so more than likely gonna be Swords to Plowshares. We see a Batterskull coming down on John's side, kind of having a commanding board presence here. The Collector Oof still shutting down that Aether Vial, but Solitude and Batterskull with a Mother of Runes, that's 7 lifelink that could potentially attack each turn, plus the 3 damage from the Flicker Wisp. 4 mana is going to get that Questing Beast that we were talking about earlier. So damage cannot be prevented here, even with protection. I am not sure why a Solitude would trade with a Questing Beast, as Solitude is only a 3/2. but maybe there was something that I was missing there. Also, if it was the only creature attacking, it would have been a 5/5, so maybe there were double blocks declared. I'm not entirely certain on that, but if that was the case, Death Touch would have been able to assign damage to each creature and kill them with just 1 damage each. Mara coming back down again. No Karakas in play this time. Birds of Paradise. Still a lot of damage coming across here. Batterskull declaring attacks. 4 damage dealt. Looks like Ben is slowly losing this fight here. With no way to deal with this token. Just slamming Imara into that board. It would only be a 3/3. Basically be just killing it. Flash in another Solitude. Targeting the Collector Oof. Gaining some life, but bringing Aether Vial back online. So now John can pay 3 mana, get Yorion into his hand, and then start flashing things. That would be a pretty devastating set of blows here. We're seeing the Wandering Emperor come into play here. Giving a +1/+1 counter to Birds of Paradise. And I guess we're trading Flicker Wisp. Or just declaring blockers? I'm not sure. In any case, that's going to be the game. So it looks like Ben kind of ran out of steam and Death and Taxes did its thing, just being able to answer threat for threat while also maintaining a little bit of a board state. And once it had that overwhelming pressure and was just able to kind of stay on top of everything, chipping in with that Batterskull every turn, finally took it down. Thanks for watching. Please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel if you want to see more of this content in the future. We have a bunch more of these on the channel, so go check out our backlog to see some other premium content. If you're curious about a deck you saw played here, the deck lists are always in the description of the video below. Thanks as always to Spellhold Games for letting us play at their store, and we'll see you next time for some more Magic content on Tuesday Night Legacy. Bye!